No, I can never single out any instrument as being like the best instrument. I think there's so many incredible instruments, and whatever you feel called to play is great. But guitar is my first love, and it's an amazing instrument because there's so much you can do with it. Of course, you can strum, you can pick, you can also like do very like rhythmic. You can do with a guitar. I mean, that's just a tiny fraction of it. But a lot of people get tripped up when they play guitar because they start trying to learn chords and songs first. And this can be great. I mean, learning chords and songs is an amazing thing as a way to learn how to play different songs. But there's also a really easy way to play guitar that I've just kind of found when I teach someone as a beginner. I'm like, before you learn chords, because chords can be kind of weird, unlike a piano where it's a little more obvious, you just press your fingers down. Learning how to get your fingers on these different chords and how to match your hand up, it can be frustrating at first. So there's a really simple technique that I've learned and I've taught so many people, just as like, hey, here's a really simple way to learn guitar, and then after that you can start learning chords and doing all the things. But what I say is put on some music and pick, let's say I'm playing, and we're going to have to imagine this because I'm not going to put on music, but let's say I'm playing this G to C. So if you imagine that, the so let's say I was playing that and I was teaching you, and let's say you have a guitar if you're feeling interested. Pick a string, make sure the guitar's tuned, but pick a string that just feels good or whatever. And what I want you to do is, as you know, I'm playing this, right? As I'm playing this, and then you're gonna just pick a string and start playing some notes. So it can be like. And so what's happening here, and I can kind of do it while I'm doing both, so I can show you. So this finger is what's happening is sort of like improvising, where you're listening to what I'm playing and you're finding the notes that sound good with that, and you're creating little melodies. And it's like, seem like a little tricky at first, but what's cool is your ear knows so much. So when I'm playing, right, and you're going da 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 da. So your ear is listening and it's picking out these little melodies that's playing along. Now you can do this. You can, if you have a guitar, you can play a guitar with me. If you have a piano, or you can just sing with your voice, right? Because you're making up sounds. It's no different from when I'm playing. Na, na, da, 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 da. Right, when I'm playing those notes, it's basically singing with my guitar. I'm using my fingers. And there was actually a great lesson I saw this guy do on YouTube where he said, use the phrase, I like pizza, and you can make it sound as many ways as you want. So it can be like, I like pizza, 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 I like pizza. Right, and you just you pick a phrase or whatever, and you just kind of play it and have some fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play this really simple thing. And again, you can play along with me, jam with the instrument or with singing, whatever feels right. But just train your ear to start hearing these notes that sound good. And the piece remembers that if I'm playing, yeah, and you're going, for example, if you hit a wrong note, you'll hear. Now, I don't want to say that there's actually wrong notes, but in the context of these chords, this note doesn't go with that in the same way that these, just like, that's gonna sound off. So if I'm playing, it's gonna kind of create this minor and this dissonance, which at the moment we don't want. And there's places where that makes perfect sense. But what's gonna happen is as you're playing these notes, you're just sliding up and down. So if I'm trying to find a note, I play one note. If it sounds good, I'm like, cool. If I go to the next note, doesn't sound good, I just go to the next note. So I'm like, now I know, okay, cool. And these work great. And maybe I'm just playing these two notes the whole time. You know, 2 or 3 notes and keeping it really simple. And what's gonna happen over time is you'll realize as you play with music, you're going to train your ear to be able to hear what's going on. So when you hear music, especially more simple music, it's different than like classical music or jazz where it can get complicated. But if you're playing to more simple music where very easy chord structures to follow along, most pop music, rock music, country, folk is pretty very, very simple. Pretty very, very simple. So you put on a song that you like and you just start noticing what notes sound good with that. And over time, as you get more advanced in the musical theory, this is where it comes in, where you start to understand theory and which notes work in keys. But to me, I learned how to play by ear first. So I just would listen and say, does that sound good? Does that sound good? And the more I played and the more I practiced just listening to something, now I can hear something and almost play it back perfectly very quickly just by listening to it, because I've trained myself to do that. And it's a cool skill to have. So anyhow, I'm going to play a little something. And I want you to, this is essentially jamming, right? You're just making up, improvising some notes that sound good. It can be one note, da 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 da, da 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 da. You can use your voice, whatever instrument you want. Cool, here we go. Look at that, you just jammed out for the first time. You didn't even think it was possible, did you? Maybe, I don't want to make assumptions, but if you didn't, I just want to say that's freaking cool, because you just did something new for the first time.